Jaguars rookie minicamp has produced a lot of winners, and it's also produced some losers. And on today's episode of Jags Now, presented by our wonderful friends over at PrizePicks, we're going to be discussing, in my opinion, the biggest winners and the biggest losers. And I do think there's some clarity being developed in terms of some position battles that we'll see kind of throughout the offseason. Without any further ado, let's get into it. But before we do, guys, thank you all so much for the support. We are trying to reach 3,000 subscribers here on the channel. We've got you covered. Rumors, news, schedule release that's coming up around the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will have you locked in, so make sure you guys subscribe. Turn on your notifications for the best Jaguars coverage here on YouTube. All right, let's get into some winners. I think winners is a good place to start off. I like starting off positive. Emmanuel Pregnon. He, to me, is the biggest Jaguars rookie minicamp winner so far. He's really stood out. I think he's somebody that, whenever you drafted him in the third round, Jaguars fans were the most happy in terms of, that draft selection. And I do think that it's warranted. I thought he was personally the second best offensive guard in this past draft class behind Vega Ioane. And the fact that you're able to get him in the third round, to me, was an absolute steal. And if you don't believe me, just hear what Liam Coen had to say about the former Oregon Duck. Large man. Some of that you can't coach, right? And when you have big, strong hands and heavy hands as an interior offensive lineman, I think it's super helpful to the cause, especially in pass protection, to be able to snap things off. And then when you are put in some one-on-one positions up front, being able to not just get stalemates, but potentially move that person in the other direction. I think Pregnon challenges for a starting offensive guard spot right away. To me, he has got the ability at the next level to contribute both as a pass protector and in the run game. He's physical, he's big. Liam Coen and James Gladstone both raved not only after just the draft pick of made him, when they made the draft pick for Emmanuel Pregnon, but also just throughout the rookie minicamp process. And I was talking with producer Lopez before we filmed this. You're not necessarily going to hear any negative, just kind of fluff from this rookie minicamp kind of period from any NFL team. That being said, Emmanuel Pregnon has just received a lot of praise from this coaching staff so far, and I do think we'll see him challenged for an starting offensive guard spot. Which spot? We'll talk about that more in today's episode. But another winner that I think has been really just turning up in terms of he is going to be a contributor day one for the Jacksonville Jaguars team is none other than your second-round pick, Nate Boerkircher, the tight end out of Texas A&M. There was a lot of criticism around this pick, right, from draft analysts, people outside the Jaguars building in terms of like, oh, you drafted a blocking tight end in round 2 when you had other positions that you could have addressed. Liam Coen and James Gladstone have said from the front, their consensus is different from the general consensus. And they also believe that Nate Boerkircher is somebody that contributes to the team and the identity that they want. Physical, tough, can be willing to do little things, will also develop into a player more than what he was in his collegiate career. Here's what Liam Coen had to say on Boerkircher. You can tell he's got a common confidence about him. Extremely locked in the meeting room setting. I knew some guys at Nebraska, where he played originally before he played at Texas A&M. And I've talked to some guys at A&M. And the weight room, the way he attacks things, the way that he works, very serious about his craft, very serious about playing football and getting better. So I think he fits right in. And guys like Strange and those guys in that room already are workers and wired that way, I think will only help. And Boerkircher's impact, in my opinion, will be beyond the stat sheet. Right away, Britton Strange is going to be your number one tight end option and eat up most of those tight end targets. But Boerkircher is going to contribute into the fact that Jaguars, they want to run multiple tight end sets and have an additional blocker along their offensive line to really spring open the running game that Liam Coen values so much. And I do think that Boerkircher will, develop into a solid pass catcher at the next level. But you're going to hear this a lot from non-Jaguars fans. Oh, Nate Boerkircher, you traded him in the second round. He's only got however many catches on the year so far. What is he actually doing? If you sit there and you watch these Jaguars games and you watch how Liam Coen calls these games in terms of having more dual tight end sets to create more mismatches against the way secondaries are in the NFL nowadays, I think Boerkircher will have an impact. And if you're a Jaguars fan, you'll know that impact when we get into the 2026 NFL season. We're going to be talking about some more winners and some losers here on today's episode of Jags Now, but I couldn't do this show if it wasn't for our friends over at PrizePicks. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. Playoffs are here for basketball, baseball is underway, and it's time to cash in with PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. If you're a hoops guy, you can go with points, rebounds, assists, blocks, or three-pointers. If you're more of a seam head, you can choose hits, home runs, or strikeouts. You guys can even follow me on the app and see all my lineups at CullenBro21. I've got a 3-player lineup for tonight's Hoops action, $20 to win 120. Give me the more on Donovan Mitchell's field goals made. Give me the more on Evan Mobley's assist at 3.5. That's a demon play, so gives you, it's probably not as likely to hit, but PrizePicks does give you better chance to win some cash with that selection, and give me the less on Jalen Duren's points, rebounds, and assists. New user offer. Download the PrizePicks app today with the link in the comments and the description, and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. All right, getting into another rookie minicamp winner, and it is Ventrell Miller. And you might be sitting there saying, Cullen, he's not even a rookie. How is he a rookie minicamp winner? Well, if you look at this Jaguars linebacker depth chart, the Jaguars going into free agency / this offseason, I think a lot of Jaguars fans knew that they were going to lose Devin Lloyd, who ultimately went to the Carolina Panthers. And it's like, okay, how do we replace Devin Lloyd in this defense next to Foye Oluokun? And really the only addition that's been made is Parker Hughes, the linebacker out of Middle Tennessee State, who you took in the 7th round. I think Ventrell Miller, based on all kind of reporting and just kind of the lack of, any kind of buzz around any of the linebackers, has really solidified himself as that starting linebacker next to Foye Oluokun. Now, we've got a lot of time before the 2026 NFL season kicks off, but if I had to make a guess at this point, Ventrell Miller is really going to be somebody that is a big winner just simply from the fact that he's next in line to kind of earn a starting position and earn some reps next to Foye Oluokun in this Anthony Campanelli defense. So from that aspect alone, you're a winner. And sometimes it's the things that you not necessarily don't do, but the things that happen around you in order to kind of create a winner here in the offseason. Getting into our final winner now from rookie minicamp, and it is Jamari Taylor, running back out of Virginia, who I think is the most likely Jaguars UDFA to kind of make this roster, in my opinion. Now, the Jags did sign Amir Abdullah along with waiving Jaquindon Jackson. This was from Jaguars PR on Monday. We talked about it in a short that we released on the channel. I do think it's kind of a 3-way competition for RB4 between Amir Abdullah, who I don't give much of a chance to win, or make this roster, in my opinion, just the fact that he's getting in so late. Maybe Liam Coen has a vision for him, but I'm just not sure at this point in his career how much he can contribute. So really, it's between Jamari Taylor and DJ Dallas for that kind of RB4 spot. And Liam Coen, so far during rookie minicamp, has praised Taylor for his smarts and his versatility. He's a really physical runner that has good contact balance. He can also contribute out of the backfield as a pass catcher, and he gives you special teams value. So to me, if you're trying to make the roster and do all those little things, Jamari Taylor, checks all those boxes. And I think that as a winner during rookie minicamp, he's an easy one for me. A lot of really good reports coming out of camp so far in terms of just how he's looked. So I give him the best shot out of all UDFAs to make the roster for Jacksonville. Some losers now for rookie minicamp. You got to talk about some losers if you're going to talk about winners. And, in contrast to our biggest winner in terms of the Jacksonville Jaguars, the biggest loser, in my opinion, is Patrick McCarry, who I think Emmanuel Pregnon is gunning for Patrick McCarry's job, maybe unintentionally, but at the end of the day, if you're an NFL player, you're always trying to compete and to try to get on the football field. And McCarry just did not have a great year last year for Jacksonville. He was brought over along with Robert Hainsey to kind of shore up the interior of the offensive line for Jacksonville, and he just didn't perform up to expectations. And in my opinion, he was the worst Jaguars offensive lineman out of your kind of starting 5 that you had. You see the grades on screen. He had 9 penalties, gave up 2 sacks. He did miss the last 2 games of the year with a back injury. Walker Little filled in at right guard and honestly looked better than McCarry at that spot. So I think Pregnon's emergence could be really bad for Patrick McCarry. Now, the good news, I guess, if you're Patrick McCarry, is Pregnon only played the left guard position his last year with the Oregon Ducks. I'd have to actually go back and look to see if he's played right guard at all in his collegiate career, but I know his last year at Oregon, he only exclusively played left guard. So can he obviously make the switch? I believe he can. And if you're McCarry, you have to use your kind of veteran instincts and really kind of get a kick in the butt here, because if you kind of rest on your laurels, I do think there's a really good chance that Emmanuel Pregnon challenges and potentially beats Patrick McCarry for that starting right guard spot in Jacksonville. I wanted to group these 2 losers kind of together and really discuss the main kind of talking point in terms of the Jaguars tight end room. 2 losers, Hunter Long and Quentin Morris. Both Nate Boerkircher and Hunter Koziel, who you took on day 3 of the NFL draft, have stood out so far in rookie minicamp. A lot of highlights from Boerkircher, showing off the athletic prowess that he had coming out of Texas A&M. And Hunter Koziel, to me, from the moment he stepped on a Jaguars practice facility, showcased, hey, I can be a red zone threat. He's big, he's physical, he can high point the football. To me, if you're Jacksonville, you obviously looked at your tight end room last season and said, this isn't good enough. We need to be better. They took it as a priority to address with not one, but 2 draft selections. And I think the most amount of tight ends that you're going to keep on this roster is 4. You already have Brenton Strange, who's going to be your tight end 1. I think Boerkircher, especially if you take him in the second round, is going to be your second tight end. That leaves kind of 2 spots fighting between 3 guys, potentially, and I'm not sure how it's necessarily going to play out. If I had to be honest, Hunter Long, it's going to be a long shot for him to make this roster, in my opinion. But Quentin Morris is not safe by any means, especially if the Jaguars want to keep only 3 tight ends, because I think Hunter Koziel is really going to challenge him as being kind of that third tight end and secondary vertical threat alongside Brenton Strange. Getting into the final loser of rookie minicamp, and that is Ja'Quinden Jackson. And again, it's really hard to kind of parse losers during this rookie minicamp period because you're not going to hear a lot of negative kind of publicity around these guys. But the fact that Ja'Quinden Jackson already got cut before we even got into the depths of kind of the offseason program for these NFL teams, I was a little disappointed. I thought Jackson could challenge both DJ Dallas and Jamari Taylor and be in that mix for that RB4 spot. Turns out Amir Abdullah is going to be that guy. And I think Ja'Quinden Jackson has the talent to be on an NFL roster. We'll see ultimately if he gets picked up before the start of the 2026 NFL season, but clearly Jacksonville didn't have them in their plans. I do wish the best for Ja'Quinden Jackson moving forward. All right, guys, that's my list. Winners, losers. I want you guys to get involved down below in the comment section below and give me your biggest winner and loser from Jaguars rookie minicamp. And that'll be the end of today's episode of Jags Now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will have you covered with the Jaguars schedule release and all things Jacksonville Jaguars, not only this offseason, but going into the season and beyond. So make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications to never miss a beat here at Jags Now.